Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Rugby Paper Roundup. I'm your host, Charlie, joined by Cam, as always. Cam, how you doing after a successful British and Irish Lions tour and ahead of the finale?
Yeah, it's come around quick, hasn't it? I said that last week as well, but it's all over after tomorrow morning. Crazy. Yeah, as you say, it's been a week of fallout following the Lions series win after that ending. I know you did your piece on the most controversial endings in a rugby game of all time, and that's certainly up there. Just crazy. I mean, crazy game. One for the history books, right? That will be remembered for ages. Just the comeback and the way it ended. It's just that whole last 10 minutes was so tense. I didn't have a single thought aside from that game for the last 15, 20 minutes. It was just, it was crazy. And obviously, the ending has been talked about one or two times, but it's finally here, the final game.
Yeah, and on about that ending, what do you make of it? Was it a legal clear out from Jac Morgan, or was it something a bit more?
Yeah, this won't come as a surprise to many people because it seems to be every Australian thinks it's illegal, and everyone in the British Lions camp doesn't. And I'm in the latter camp. I definitely don't think that was a penalty or illegal. I think that was a perfectly good clean out. I think he hits the top of his neck. There's a wrap. They're both low, and I think that's a collision that happens tens of times throughout a game. I mean, if you took a microscope to every single ruck in a rugby game, you'd never have a game because there's infringements in every single one. And it's interesting. People saying, if that was in the first minute of the game, it would have been given a penalty. I completely disagree.
It wouldn't get checked.
No, it wouldn't get checked. It was only because it's the last play, and Tizzano made an absolute meal of it as well. But I mean, if that's just a regular play in the middle of the field, it doesn't get checked. So I think it's completely fine. And to be fair, I don't think it took away from the spectacle of the game. I think it didn't sort of mask it, right? People still appreciated how unbelievable that was. Obviously, it's the biggest talking point, but it didn't sort of take away from how unbelievable that game was.
Yeah, maybe it did from an Australian perspective, but from our perspective, I mean, just in general, it was a really good game of rugby. Obviously, the Lions created a lot of their own issues at the start, giving away stupid penalties, just loose passes, loose everything. It really was a poor start from the Lions, but that made it a good game, and that's almost what you want to see, really, because like as we know, if the Lions are at their best, they're going to put a fair few points on the Wallabies. So it's like, in a weird way, it was almost nice that they started slowly just to actually be in a game. Because what was it? Was it 18 points? They were behind at one point. That is some comeback. But at the end of the day, it did come from the Lions' own shortcomings early on. So
I don't know about you. I always felt after the Lions scored their second try, so went to make it 25, 12 or 10, whatever it was. From that point, I always thought that this is going to come down to the last 5 minutes, even though the gap was still 2 scores and the benches were still to come. I always thought that it was going to come down to sort of the last 5 minutes, and that Lions bench really turned it on. And James Ryan, big part of that, obviously starting this week, and Kinghorn as well. Biggest team news.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, on the bench quickly, obviously it was the Lions bench being strong, but it was also the Wallabies bench not necessarily being amazing given, their injuries and everything and the lack of depth. It wasn't necessarily their best foot forward, even with Will Skelton and Rob Valentini back, who I mean, we'll touch on it, but obviously Valentini's not playing this week. But so
you could just tell. I think this whole series would be different if Valentini was fully fit and fired.
Oh yeah, he was class.
He was incredible in that first 40 minutes, and then obviously there was a lot of clamour of why is he being dragged off at half time. Obviously, he's missing the third test now, so that's the reason. It makes you wonder, how put together he was for that first 40 minutes. But I think this would have been a completely different series if he was playing and Will Skelton was fully fit. Obviously, he's starting this one, and played sort of 45 in the last one, but he's not fully fit, is he?
Nah.
But yeah, the bench was just stark contrast. The Lions coming on and completely changing that game. Genge, Ryan, Kinghorn and Farrell, and they just outmuscled that Aussie bench, really.
Yeah, and I mean, on Kinghorn as well, it's good to see him rewarded with a start, because I feel like he has been unlucky with obviously injuries and with the top 14 interruptions to start off with. So it's nice to see him start, and I think possibly slightly overdue with James Lowe's performances, but
yeah,
he wasn't as bad in the second test as he was in the first, but he still wasn't at his best.
He wasn't good at all in the second test either.
No.
I mean, he had that one moment, the try assist to Burn, where he beat a man and then flicked the offload, but he's been way off his best the first two tests. He's still world class, and he'll be fine for the new season and Six Nations. He's still world class. He's just been off the boil for the first two games, and if you've got someone like Kinghorn behind you, you can't really afford to have back-to-back average performances. So yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. And just on the lineup as well, how do you assess the Lions? Is it as good a lineup as, or is it similar to what you'd have had, or any changes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the biggest lineup talking point for me throughout the whole series is that the starting back row hasn't changed. Same for all three tests. You have the likes of Morgan, Earl, and Van der Fleer behind. But Burn, Curry, and Conan have been excellent. Obviously, Burn and Curry, there's a lot of conversation around their selection the first test, and they were the two best players on the pitch. Curry with that enormous moment with the tackle on Suoliti, just as the Wallabies were trying to stretch their lead. If you went into this series telling me that that back row would be the same starting selection for all three, I would have called you crazy. But no real surprises for me this third test.
No, me neither. I think the only real surprise you mentioned in there is Van der Fleer, how he's not really had much of a chance. But again, you can't expect Curry to be dropped. So where do you fit in? On the bench, maybe.
Yeah, Ben Earl, off the bench in 2 games now. Obviously it was Earl in the first game, then Morgan the second game, and now both in the third game. With his Irish link as well, you would have thought Andy Farrell might have gone Van der Fleer to give him a cap, but I guess Earl is slightly different to Morgan and Curry, right? Whereas Van der Fleer is pretty similar. I don't think he would have Curry, Morgan, Van der Fleer in the same 23. It just doesn't make sense. Obviously, it's a 6-2 split, but Earl could play in the centres if something happens. Obviously, Farrell's there as well, but he's slightly different to those three. So, but shame for Van der Fleer, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Lions have gone 6-2, Australia have gone 5-3. Which do you prefer in general nowadays? Because there has been a bit of a shift in the past maybe year or two, really.
That's a good question, actually. It really depends on the matchup, I think.
Well, in this instance, then, which do you prefer?
I like 6-2. I do like 6-2. It's just, if you don't get injuries, I think 6-2 is much better, especially for a test match where you want, the physical battle so important, right? That's half the game, really. And if you have that extra forward, it makes such a big difference. I mean, I was one at the start when it sort of first got introduced, one of the skeptics, I guess, because you are sort of one injury away in the right position. You have to reshuffle your whole backline. We've seen it a couple of times this series, actually, where McDermott was on the wing. Alex Mitchell almost had to come onto the wing at one point. So if you do get that one injury, it does sort of cost you. But I guess you're just sort of banking on that not happening, right? And if that doesn't happen, I think it is definitely an added benefit. Having that extra power off the bench. 7-1 is a different kettle of fish, though. I'm still not sure I'm ready for that.
That'll be South Africa in a couple of years going 7-1. Rassie revolutionising things, but yeah. And I mean the question at the bottom of the screen: can the Lions sweep the Wallabies? What do you reckon? Can they?
I think they will. I think it's been. We said it before the series started. The bottom line is the Lions are just better than the Wallabies.
Yeah.
They have more quality, especially with all their injuries. They're just the better side, right? And if the Wallabies were going to win a game, it was going to be the last one, I think. They had the perfect start, and they needed to hold on to that. And I don't think they've got enough quality to win this game. So I think it's crazy. I mean, it will be the first series sweep since 1927, which is mental. So it'll be a proper historic tour if they can do it. And I think they will.
It's strange. It's strange though, because it doesn't feel like you hear about the 1974 Invincibles. I mean, you don't really hear about the 1927 team, but they're almost like legendary, really. 74 especially. It doesn't to me feel like this team carries that legendary status. Do you know what I mean? Even if they do sweep 3-0, but maybe it is something we'll look back on and go, wow, do you know what? Or I don't know. Yeah, it's a really strange one.
As you say, part of it is because we're in it, right? It's hard to think of something that's legendary when you're in it right now, I guess. I think part of it as well is the quality of the Wallabies. They are weaker than normally what the Lions face, right? But it's still nothing to bat aside. If they do it, it's a series sweep that's unheard of.
Exactly.
It will still be a legendary tour, and it's probably something that's not going to happen for a long, long time again. So you can only beat what's in front of you, right? And this team has done that. We're getting ahead of ourselves, I think, a little bit.
Slightly.
But if they manage it, it'll have been some tour winning all 10 down under as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And to be fair, it's good as well in Australia that the crowds have been turning out, even despite the kind of supposed gap in quality. I can't remember the exact capacity at the MCG, but it was a lot.
Yeah, it was over 90,000, was it? 90,300, something like that.
Yeah, and then this is sold out as well, I believe, in Sydney. So that's good to see, and that bodes well, because people do say that rugby union sort of faltering in Australia, but I'd like to think that these attendances sort of disprove that.
I think they need the Lions tour, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's not the most popular sport in Australia, and they need this Lions tour, and they needed that game too, the way it was, how exciting it was. Obviously, they came on the wrong side of it, but the controversy, the comeback, the quality of rugby, they needed that. They put so many eyes on it. So I think it is a massive boost to Australian rugby, this tour. It always is. Obviously, they got the World Cup there in 2 years as well, so it's a good little period for Australian rugby, and hopefully they can boost themselves off the back of it.
Yeah, but I mean, like you say, it is the Lions to lose, and unless they're heavily not at the races, which is unlikely given, I mentioned in the sort of preview piece on the rugby paper, motivation could play into it, but the thing is, they should be motivated, and they almost certainly will be motivated. But you never know, like intangibles, like it might not even be conscious. But you'd expect them to be like really, really up for this game, especially for the history.
They will want to sweep this and have a big piss up before they all get on the plane and have a good month or two off. There is no doubt about that. They will not want to have a sour taste in their mouth leaving. And it will be a thing that they've spoken about, winning all 10 games on tour. That's a big deal. Coming to the other side of the world and playing 10 games with a squad of 40 something and playing 2 games a week for the majority and winning all the games is not easy at all.
No.
And for the most part, outside of the test matches, it's been pretty comfortable. Obviously, that FMP game was pretty close and the Waratahs game was slightly close, but it's been pretty comfortable, and they'll want to make sure that they win all 10 games.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of wins, Hugh Jones bet last week. You predicted him to score a try, and he finally did it.
After the heartbreak of the first week where he had that double movement, he finally got across the line. And I think it's a good bet again this week. It's triple your money. He's in try scoring form. He's always going to get a chance. He's going to play the full 80. So I'm going to go back to the well on that one. I'm definitely going to be putting Hugh Jones on. And I said at the start, a good punt on him to be the top try scorer of the series. He's a little bit behind now, but if he gets a double and Sheehan doesn't score, he's still in with a chance. So still another good bet. Triple your money, Hugh Jones to score this week.
Yeah, no. And any other bets from you?
I like the total points over as well. So you need 43 or more points this game. Obviously, weather permitting, but this series had points. The first test was 48, and obviously the last test was 50. Quick maths, 55. There's been a lot of points in this game, and I don't see why that can't continue. 43 is pretty low. So unless it's pissing it down in Sydney, I like 43 or more points from this game.
Yeah, because Australia are pretty handy in attack, and the Lions' defense was a bit optional at times last week.
Yeah, and it's they've got nothing to lose now. The Wallabies, they're going to throw everything at it. They'll take chances, right? And they've got the quality, as we saw last week, to score from long range. So I like that bet a lot.
Yeah, and I mean on that note, what is your final prediction for the game? I assume you're going with a Lions win based on what you've just said.
Lions win.
Yeah,
I think it will be something like 28-20.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll go slightly bolder. I'll go 35-25.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope it's just another good game to finish off what's been a very good tour. Next week we'll get into team of the series and player of the series and stuff. But, there's been some people who have really, really stood out, especially Furlong. Obviously, 9 tests in a row now, 9 Lions tests in a row, which is it's crazy. And then it's even crazier for a tight head prop. One of the most demanding positions to do that for 9 years and be at the top of your game is it's unbelievable. And Itoje just behind him on 8 in a row. He might still have another 3 in a row in him. Furlong probably not, but Itoje could definitely get to double-digit consecutive Lions tests, which is crazy. And if he does that as captain next tour as well, that's him cemented as one of the Lions greats if he's not already now.
Yeah, I was going to say he probably is already now, Itoje and Furlong, obviously. Insane longevity, really.
Who's your player of the series so far, actually? We'll do a bigger one next week, but just as of now, going into this game.
Are we including the warm-up games as well? Because I'm trying to
test series only.
Do you know what? Might be slightly biased, but Tom Curry.
He's definitely up there, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think given the amount of talk going into the first game and that was one of the best games I've seen him play in his whole career. That first test, he was unbelievable. And then second test, obviously good again. So I think he's definitely a great shout. I think Sheehan as well. Obviously scored in both games. It's just been a rock. Genge obviously came off the bench last week, but has been phenomenal as well. Completely changed the game last week and could do the same this week. That's my top 3. But I think Sheehan and Curry are definitely the 2 battling it out.
Yeah, and I think that's why I asked about the warm-up games. Sheehan would edge it if you're taking those into account, because obviously Curry wasn't amazing, but purely
Finn Russell as well, actually.
Yeah, shout.
That's probably the top 3 going into this game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But no, that's the end of the episode. Obviously, got a big game to look forward to, and hopefully, from our perspective, the Lions managed to sweep the Wallabies.